At its peak, this company operated over 9,000 stores, employed 84,000 people, and processed more than 3 billion rental transactions. Today, exactly one store remains, kept alive as a tourist attraction. Here's how that happened. A Blockbuster wasn't built by a single visionary founder. It started as a 20-store chain, founded by David Cook before entrepreneur Wayne Huizenga, who'd already built a fortune in the waste management industry, took control in 1987. Huizenga expanded it aggressively, growing the chain to over 3,600 locations and $2 billion in annual sales, before selling to media giant Viacom in 1994 for roughly $7.6 billion.
Friday night means one thing: Blockbuster night. New releases every week, right here on the shelf. Grab your popcorn, grab your candy, and get the movie everyone's talking about before your neighbor beats you to the last copy. Be kind, rewind, and we'll see you next Friday.
That's the Blockbuster nearly every American in the 90s remembers. Here's how the company actually got there, and how fast it all came apart. By 2004, Blockbuster's scale was staggering. Over 9,000 stores across 25 countries, 84,000 employees, more than 3 billion rental transactions processed. The blue and yellow ticket stub logo was one of the most recognized brand symbols in the country. For an entire generation, a Friday night literally meant a trip to Blockbuster. Sumner Redstone, then chief of Viacom, brought in John Antioco in 1997, a retail veteran with experience at 7-Eleven, Pearl Vision, and Taco Bell, specifically to fix a company that had already started losing focus. And initially, it worked. Antioco negotiated new, more favorable supply deals with Hollywood studios, nearly doubling Blockbuster's revenue during his early tenure. In 1999, Viacom spun Blockbuster off as its own independent public company. But there were already cracks forming years before anyone noticed. In 1997, Warner Brothers offered Blockbuster a favorable deal: early access to rent out their films before public release, in exchange for a cut of the revenue. Blockbuster turned it down. Warner Brothers offered the same deal to Walmart instead. Walmart accepted and quickly became one of the studio's biggest revenue sources, a partnership Blockbuster had walked away from. There was a deeper problem too, one baked directly into how Blockbuster made money. By the year 2000, late fees alone brought in roughly $800 million in annual revenue. That's not a rounding error. That's a massive, deliberate profit center. But it was also the single biggest source of customer resentment. The company's most reliable revenue stream and its most hated feature were the exact same thing.
Tired of late fees? Tired of empty shelves on a Friday night? Introducing Netflix. Unlimited movies delivered straight to your mailbox for one flat monthly price. No due dates, no fees. No more driving to the store just to find out someone else got there first.
Founded in 1997, Netflix started small. A mail-order DVD service most people had never heard of. But it was built around solving the exact thing Blockbuster's customers complained about most. In 2000, Netflix's founders flew to Blockbuster's headquarters in Dallas with a proposal: sell the company to Blockbuster for $50 million. With Netflix running the online side of the business while Blockbuster kept its stores. Blockbuster declined. The popular version of this story says executives laughed the offer out of the room, though Reed Hastings himself has since said he doesn't believe the meeting was ever taken that seriously to begin with. Either way, the offer went nowhere. In hindsight, the decision wasn't as irrational in the moment as it looks today. In 2000, Netflix was a tiny, unproven company. Blockbuster was a dominant global giant with every advantage on paper. But over the next several years, that gap closed far faster than anyone at Blockbuster expected. Netflix wasn't the only new threat either. Around the same period, a company called Redbox began installing DVD rental kiosks in grocery stores and pharmacies. No storefront, no staff, just a machine and a dollar bill. By 2010, Redbox operated more than 22,000 kiosks nationwide. Blockbuster, by comparison, had installed only 2,500 of its own. Blockbuster wasn't just losing a two-front war. It was losing on three fronts simultaneously. By 2004, Blockbuster's leadership finally moved to respond. CEO John Antioco launched Blockbuster Online and eliminated late fees entirely, directly copying the model Netflix had proven out. It was a real serious attempt to compete. But that plan carried a real price tag, roughly $200 million to eliminate late fees, and another $200 million to build out Blockbuster Online. $400 million in new spending all at once. Activist investor Carl Icahn, who'd taken a significant stake in the company in 2004, argued the plan was reckless, that Blockbuster should be managed as a mature, cash-generating business, not gambled on an uncertain digital pivot. In 2005, Icahn won a proxy fight, securing 3 seats on Blockbuster's board. 2 years of boardroom conflict followed, culminating in a dispute over Antioco's compensation that finally pushed him out in 2007. His replacement, Jim Keyes, reversed course almost immediately, reinstating late fees and deprioritizing the online push, just as streaming technology was beginning to emerge as the next real shift in the industry.
Blockbuster is back, and we're done with late fees for good. Introducing Blockbuster Total Access. Rent online, return in store, exchange for a brand new movie the same day. Everything Netflix offers, plus the stores you already know.
On paper, it should have worked. In practice, it was years too late. But by the time this campaign launched, millions of customers had already fully switched their habits to Netflix. Total Access briefly slowed the bleeding, but it couldn't reverse it. The company had spent nearly a decade training customers to associate its own name with exactly the friction Netflix had eliminated. Winning them back required more than matching the offer. It required rebuilding trust that had already been spent. Icahn had backed Jim Keyes as the replacement, calling him exactly the right leader for the company's next chapter. But Keyes reversed Antioco's digital strategy almost immediately, and Blockbuster's stock didn't recover. It collapsed. By January 2010, with shares down 91% since Keyes took over, Icahn resigned from the board entirely, just months before the company filed for bankruptcy. The investor who had fought hardest against the risky pivot ended up presiding over a far worse collapse than the one he'd tried to prevent. The debt kept mounting. In 2010, Blockbuster filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, carrying roughly $1 billion in debt. In 2011, satellite provider Dish Network acquired what remained of the company for $320 million, a fraction of the $7.6 billion Viacom had paid for it less than 2 decades earlier. Today, exactly one Blockbuster store still operates in Bend, Oregon. No longer really a video rental business, but a living museum of a Friday night ritual an entire generation once took for granted. Blockbuster didn't fail because nobody warned them. They turned down a real deal, ignored a real shift in customer behavior, and when they finally responded, internal conflict undid the one strategy that might have actually worked. The technology wasn't the enemy. The delay was. Sold as untouchable. Satisfaction not guaranteed.